And welcome back to News Desk. Now, President Donald Trump reversed decades of U.S. policy on Wednesday and recognized Jerusalem as capital of Israel, despite warnings from around the world. The gesture further drives a wedge between Israel and the Palestinians. In a speech at the White House, Trump said his administration would also begin a process of moving the U.S. embassy in Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, which is expected to take years. Jerusalem is home to sites like the holy to the Muslim, Jewish and Christian religions, and has been one of the thorniest issues in long-running Middle East peace efforts. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hailed U.S. President Donald Trump's move, terming it as historic and a courageous and a just decision.
That it is time to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. While previous presidents have made this a major campaign promise, they failed to deliver. Today, I am delivering. I've judged this course of action to be in the best interests of the United States of America and the pursuit of peace between Israel and the Palestinians. This is a long overdue step to advance the peace process and to work towards a lasting agreement. Israel is a sovereign nation with the right, like every other sovereign nation, to determine its own capital. Acknowledging this is a fact is a necessary condition for achieving peace.
This is a historic day. Jerusalem has been the capital of the Jewish people for 3,000 years. It's been the capital of Israel for nearly 70 years. We're profoundly grateful for the President for his courageous and just decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and to prepare for the opening of the U.S. Embassy here. I also want to make clear there will be no change whatsoever to the status quo at the holy sites. Israel will always ensure freedom of worship for Jews, Christians, and Muslims alike.
Now, that's a move that has literally shocked the world. I want to bring in David Kikaya, who's an international relations expert. He's joining us by way of phone. Thank you for joining us, David. Now, there are people who've described, this latest move by Donald Trump. First of all, Benjamin Netanyahu has called it as historic and a courageous and just decision. But of course, there's people on the other side who've termed as this move by Trump as irresponsible. From where you sit, how can you describe this move by Donald Trump?
Unfortunate. Unfortunate in the sense that President Barack Obama had tried to bring the two parties together from what was a very wide divide. And to a certain extent, analysts will agree that he had achieved that, and he had initiated a number of bilaterals, both between the two countries, if you want to ignore the fact that Palestine is not regarded as a country, and Israel. But also there was some kind of dialogue going on. So the statement that Donald Trump made the other day is very retrogressive. It is aggressive in two aspects. I've had the fortune to visit Jerusalem, and Jerusalem is a very historic, understandably religious city because it hosts the two most revered centers by the two religious protagonists. That is the Islam and, of course, the Jewish religion. You just the place you find what they call the Wailing Wall, which is used by most Jews to make their own their various prayers. Similarly, there is one of the oldest mosques there. There have been discussions that Jerusalem should be turned into some kind of international no man's area, so that the two major religious groups in that particular region can enjoy similar status. Others have argued that perhaps should be divided into two, where they carefully carve the revered religious centers to two separate places. So, in a nutshell, what Trump has said publicly let alone what he's doing privately, is quite retrogressive.
Progressive, you say. And, let's talk about him reversing the gains that have been made over the many, many years in this particular conflict. And there are people who are saying that Trump is just basically sticking to the promises that he made, during the campaign season. From where you sit, what do you think could have informed Trump to make this announcement, which seemingly from the U.S. has finality?
Yeah, but there's one thing to make campaign declarations, another thing to address the realities as they exist when and if you get into the Oval House, as indeed he has. So for him to try and actualize all his dreams without, and I must confess I'm not one of the people who give very much credence to Trump's understanding, comprehension, and interpretation of international, let alone historical events. I think it is, again, as I say, unfortunate and misguided. What we are going to see is a return to the Yasser Arafat PLO agitation years. And we, those of us who have been involved in this particular world, know that they are not very flattering moments for us to look back to. So from that point of view, I think even the Americans themselves should be worried whether we are going to see an increase in terrorist activities inevitably, whether we are going to see a kind of isolationist approach by those who are pro-Palestinian. Is something that in the next couple of months is not going to be very, very pleasing at all.
The international media has come out to also talk about the implication on, U.S. citizens who, might be affected by the results of this particular announcement.
Precisely. They're going to be regarded as a pariah. Even if some of them are as innocent, they definitely will be a target. And there's no way any government can protect any of their citizens wherever they are found. So you're going to see an increase of U.S. citizens or perceived U.S. citizens and U.S. sympathizers being targeted. You know that we in Kenya here have suffered that before, not just in terms of the recent bombings, but I'm thinking of way back in the days of Idi Amin when we suffered a number of casualties because of our assistance to the rescue of the airline victims. So the ramifications are beyond just Donald Trump's 5 minutes or so pronouncement of egocentrism. I hope that those in the American diplomatic world will try and do some damage control and try to walk a road of mediation and reconciliation. We must understand that the problem in the Middle East is, of course, historical from all the way in 1948. And one would have thought that by now we would be walking the path towards a kind of amelioration, because there is no force, and we've seen events that can tell us that are going to coerce, especially the Palestinians, into succumbing to what the American-backed Israel are forcefully trying to achieve. That will not lead us anywhere other than the path right back to the period of terrorist attacks, I'm afraid to say.
Wow, some devastating news there. Of course, retrogressive like David Kikai, who's an international relations expert, is just hinting at. Of course, he was discussing this latest move by Trump that, of course, has gotten the whole world talking yet again. He's reversed decades, really, of U.S. policy on Wednesday by recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. All right. Let's now come back home and focus on some good news. And President Uhuru Kenyatta signed into law the County Allocation of Revenue Amendment Bill. The move by the President effectively gives the Treasury the green light to disburse at least 77.4 billion shillings to the 47 counties. Well, this comes as a major relief to the county bosses who had, on a number of occasions, accused the Treasury of sabotage, given the delay in the release of the funds. Elvis Koskei is currently in Eldoret, and now he will be speaking to residents on what some of their priorities are, even as the money is released. Good afternoon, Elvis Kosgei. Talk to us about the reactions you're getting so far on the ground with the release of this green light for Treasury to release the monies to the counties.
Good afternoon, Betty. It's a major relief for residents of Uasin Gishu County, even though some of them say that it's long overdue, and they thought that President Uhuru Kenyatta should have assented the county allocation revenue amendment bill before the August 8th general election, because they feel some projects here have been stalled and the other medical facilities in Uasin Gishu County have not been well equipped. Na niweze kuzungumza tuna bodaboda kuniambia hizi pesa takriban bilioni 77.4 zinaweza kuasitiwa jana na kufanya kwa sheria na rais. Hivi kaunti zitakuwa zinapata pesa. Wewe kama mwendesha bodaboda, ni nini ambacho ungependa tupatiwe kipaumbele? Wangeleta hiyo pesa watengeneze barabara.
All right, so as you've noticed that we have an issue to do with the sound, we'll be correcting that and crossing over back to Elvis Kosgei. But for now, so the day 3 of the ongoing Kenya Primary School Heads Teachers Conference was characterized by sharp differences captured through their leadership of not throughout all policies that TSC and the Ministry of Education had put forward yesterday, including the implementation of the new curriculum. Francis Mtalaki breaks down the disagreements in the education sector.
Day after the Teachers Service Commission and the Ministry of Education raised the stakes in terms of leadership and accountability, all of their proposal was shot down by the school heads through their union KNUT.
I've been listening to the pronouncements of the Cabinet Secretary of Education. I've been listening to the pronouncements of the Teachers Service Commission. And where I was alone, I slept overthinking about those pronouncements. And I said, and I shared with Mheshimiwa Sosion, a time has come when the teaching fraternity needs solidarity more than ever before.
First, it was the proposal by TSC to have head teachers, principals, and their deputies transferred from their counties that received its major blow.
What does the policy of HIV at workplace say? When you separate couples, you transfer Mr. Wickel from Cliffy to Homa Bay, and you leave his spouse in Mombasa. What are you targeting?
The debate doesn't end here. The Giant Teachers Union also faults TSC in the manner in which the government has moved in speed to make changes on whom to be a head teacher, principal, or a deputy in a public institution.
We cannot make you a head teacher unless you have a master's degree. To hell, you have a very well, even without those degrees you're talking about. After all, we went to school. We got the degrees. We brought the papers in the offices. Have you promoted us? You can't have your cake and eat it at the same time.
There must be consensus. There must be agreement, without which we shall organize and oppose what we have not been consulted.
What is the cage to be used? Because this head teacher there is also qualified as master's degree. Now,
what is our take about the merging of schools? The question they are asking today, what is our take about the localization of teachers?
The much-awaited new education curriculum of 2663 now hangs the balance, as a primary school head teacher unanimously agreed that it is not possible to be implemented come January, many saying that they know nothing about the new education curriculum framework.
The needs assessment was not properly done. That too, the process is being hurried. Are you ready for the new curriculum in 2018? And therefore, we need the ministry to come back to the drawing board so that we can discuss.
Vizuri wachipange vizuri, kila mtu aone kweli wamechipanga, alafu wanaleta tunaendelea kama kawaida.
We have those tablets which were brought towards closure, and they still packed in those boxes. Teachers have no idea because they were trained only in one day, and hurriedly they have no knowledge to operate the machines. Some schools have no electricity to operate the machines. Those are the challenges we are having there.
Muda au wakati ambao umepewa ni muda mfupi au muda mfupi sana.
It now remains to be seen if the new curriculum will be rolled out in January 2018, as the Ministry of Education has been suggesting. Francis Mtalaki, KTN News, Mombasa.
All right, so Francis, they're just bringing to us what happened yesterday during the conference. We now want to bring him back again here on News Desk this afternoon. Francis, good afternoon from Mombasa. So we've had the disagreements that, took place yesterday and the concerns that the head teachers have. What is happening there today? Is it the same discourse or things have changed?
Well, Betty, there seems to be some back and forth in terms of the new curriculum and some of the agreements that were made yesterday and before yesterday, what TSC had been able to present before the primary head teachers, which the four-day conference which has been happening here, it has just ended. But today, earlier on, the head teachers also said that they will support the government's move, but as an association. But what the Kenya National Union of Teachers has been saying, that they need to be consulted for them to be able to rubber stamp what the TSC and the Ministry of Education has been saying or suggesting in terms of the proposed guidelines and the policies that have been brought forward by the TSC and the Ministry of Education. But one of the issues that has not been adequately dealt with is the issue of new curriculum, and it now remains to be seen if the new curriculum will be rolled in January 2018 as a pilot project. Many of the teachers that I've been able to speak to are saying that some of them were trained, but only 5,000 out of the 12,000 plus teachers, head teachers that have been able to attend this year's annual delegates conference here in Mombasa, only 5,000 have been trained, and they are saying that they were trained for only one day, and they believe that by them being trained for only a day, it is not sufficient for them to be able to understand the new education curriculum and the framework that is there for the curriculum. That is some of the complaints that we've been able to receive from the teachers themselves. And so they are suggesting that if the government is serious in terms of making sure that the new curriculum is a success, then this needs to be postponed possibly to 2019. They can't be able to bring some resources, teachers to be trained adequately, and also the schools that are being trained, they are complaining that most of these schools are those approved schools and not like some of the many public schools that are here. And so you can't be able to feel their demands are saying that there's need for more time so that they can be able to have that what is needed in terms of the new curriculum. And other issue that is still boiling is the issue about the textbook, and this policy seems to be thrown out both by the head teachers as well as the textbook publishers. For the textbook publishers, they are complaining by the directive by the CS, that is Fred Matiang'i, who ordered that the government will be purchasing at least 3 books from the 6 publishers that will be accredited by the government. And for the publishers, they are complaining that saying we are around more than 100 publishers in this country, and so by choosing only 6 publishers, then it means there is the level of competition will be low, and other publishers, where will they be able to be heading? And in terms of quality education, at primary school, will not be adequate in terms of what we are seeing at the 844 and now the 2663, which is the new curriculum. Betty.
Right. Thank you, Francis Mtalaki, for that. So we want to take a short commercial break, but all the things that Francis Mtalaki has just mentioned will be subject of our discussion here. We'll be speaking to Amos Kaburu, who's an educationist. We'll be talking about the issues that the teachers are raising with the reforms that the ministry, together with the Teacher Service Commission, have brought to the fore. We'll be having that discussion here in a few moments. So we'll take a break. We'll be back.